All right, I've seen 75 movies this year so far. Today we are going to get into my awards for mid-year 2025. So we're going to go through most disappointing, biggest pleasant surprises, best of the year, worst of the year, and my big overall recommendations to as many people as possible. And on top of that, in between, we're going to have some Marshall exclusive awards in this little ceremony. So starting off with most disappointing. In third place, we have The Materialists. Now, I just want to stress, when I say most disappointing, this isn't worst film of the year. All right, all these films are solid ish. The big thing here is it's movies I thought would be fantastic and just came out mediocre to kind of bad, you know? And with Materialists, I think for the first 40 minutes, this was absolutely nailing it. This was like from the director of Past Lives, but this felt like a really interesting deconstruction of modern dating, what essentially modernity has done to dating and the way we see one another and the way we see love as transactional. And I thought the three lead characters were all meant to be kind of scummy. I thought we were meant to be looking at all three of them at different points and seeing them as really calculated, transactional, icky people. But then after the first 40 minutes, it goes into generic rom-com territory with these characters that, in my opinion, I thought were fundamentally awful. And I think the least awful was Pedro Pascal's character, who I feel like was totally punished by the plot throughout the movie. But in terms of the other two leads, I thought they were genuinely, they were people that needed to go on arcs, needed to go through changes, needed to have some moments of self-awareness and self-reflection. And I felt like the ideas the movie was setting up and the way it felt like this fly on the wall critique, just to then be like, actually no, we're doing a normal rom-com where you're meant to be cheering at the end with tears in your eyes and being like, wow, love truly does conquer all. I'm like, love isn't conquering what you set up in the first hour. I needed this to be a mini series, or I needed this to be a fun rom-com the whole way through, or a serious, gritty deconstruction of modern dating that felt like it was doing for the first 30 minutes. But as it stands, unfortunately, it feels like a bit of a misfire, which is such a shame after the absolutely incredible and stellar debut Past Lives from Celine Song. Materialist is still a 6 out of 10 to me, but it's just not something I can confidently recommend. You would need to be really keen on it, and I would also need to then temper your expectations and tell you, look, it doesn't really hold together well. So it's a 3 out of 5. But it's not a strong recommendation. For a something to be a strong recommendation, it needs to be at least a 7 out of 10 for me. Next, we have Friendship. This is another 3 out of 5. And this is another one where I think the first 30 minutes were reaching for something greater, something deeper. This is a movie that's exploring at the start the kind of weird interpersonal dynamics between men and how delicate male friendships are. And also, it feels like it's actually doing a genuine in-depth character study of someone who is very clearly neurodivergent, a bit neurospicy, and can't handle social situations well. And for that first 30 minutes, I was like, we are setting up a weird, twisted, demented Banshees of Inisherin meets I Love You Man. We are setting up something that channels the same weird emotional places that The Curse did with Nathan Fielder. But instead, the movie just turns into kind of an Anchorman Step Brothers type farce. And I actually think it does the fast stuff really well. This is a really funny movie, a really solid, good-looking movie. I just think, again, similar to Materialist, I think that first 30 minutes had a lot of potential to go for something deeper and more exciting and more transgressive. And as it stands, it comes together as a bit of a misdirect, you know? It's sort of like I would have gladly taken a 2-hour Step Brothers type movie from this premise, or I gladly would have taken a 2-hour dark humor character study like it felt like it was seen up in the initial kind of act. And similar, this is like Materialist, right? I would have taken a straight up rom-com or a straight up romantic drama character study, but I kind of got a bit of both and not done particularly well. And that's the same for Friendship, unfortunately. Next, we have The Shrouds. This one's tough, all right? This is potentially David Cronenberg's last film. This is the guy that kind of made body horror a known thing, notably director of The Fly, very much influenced The Substance. I could not wait for David Cronenberg's The Shrouds. For those of you who don't know, the basic setup here is that it's a guy who's lost his wife to cancer and kind of is obsessed with her decomposing body and is invented this technology where he can watch her grave and watch her body decompose. And the opening scene here sets up this twisted, bleak sense of humor so well. It's dark and mean-spirited and bizarre. You know, he's on a first date after he's lost his wife and she's like, tell me about your wife. He's like, oh, we can go see her. And it's playing with this weird sort of guy that can't let go of who he used to be with, isn't ready to move on, is clearly delaying the grieving process. And I couldn't wait for all these ideas to be explored. I also knew there was going to be a body horror angle and potentially a psychosexual nature that he has with this decomposing body explored. And instead, the movie goes, yo, what if we explored this plot about a guy that like hacks the graves and hacks the technology? And then I was like, okay, well, maybe we're going to deal with like addiction. You know, he's addicted to watching his wife. No, all the most interesting stuff that could have been mined for days from this potential premise is completely wasted here for literally the most boring direction you possibly could have taken it. This was the most frustrating, disappointing movie of the year, easily, just based on the strength of its initial 5 minutes and its premise. Bizarre direction. I've never seen a movie fumble my interest as hard as The Shrouds in recent memory. Now, just quickly, we have some honorable mentions for most disappointing. Mickey 17. This is one that seems to universally disappoint everyone, myself included. But the weird thing is, I think this movie still works. It's interesting. It does feel like a weird Star Trek episode. I think a lot of people just wanted a whole movie about the clone dilemma, and I think the trailer kind of sold you on that, and I think the first act sells you on that. The most interesting stuff at the start of the movie is how are they going to kind of like fight for their rights to both exist? How's this conflict going to come to a head? And the movie abandons it, and I appreciate the other direction the movie goes in about the creatures that inhabit this planet. I really do, and I like all the politics stuff, but there's such a tight premise there that I think they didn't really close off well. I am happy if this movie was 2.5 hours, even 3 hours long, and just spent more time wrapping up the clone stuff before transitioning, but as it stands, there's so much stuff thrown in here. And on one end, the reason it hasn't made most disappointing is because I look back on it favorably. It's so exciting to see a director throw as many ideas as he can and have so many ideas. I just wish it was slightly tighter. This, for me, does actually get a recommendation. I think if you haven't seen Mickey 17, you are missing a substantial chunk of cinema for the year. And at the very least, I think most people like it. I think just pretty much everyone seems to go, oh, it could have been better. But in saying that, I think it looks beautiful. You get a fantastic performance from Robert Pattinson, a really great performance from Mark Ruffalo, even if the writing is a bit on the nose. Toni Collette is brilliant, but there's this like dream sequence at the end, this interpretive dream sequence about how Robert Pattinson sees Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette and his own existence that speaks to something deeper, speaks to something more Ari Aster, A24-ish, you know, where I want to sit there and really unpack it. But by the time it comes in the movie, it kind of feels a bit out of left field and like, do you even know what you're saying with this dream sequence? Do you even know what you've been saying this entire movie? But I own the steelbook for this movie. I really like it, and I would recommend it to people that are interested, but with the kind of idea that like, look, it doesn't entirely hold together well, but it's a fascinating, beautiful, thought-provoking, admittedly messy film. Next, we have Mission Impossible. This just crumbles under the weight of the franchise. I think we've had Mission Impossible 1, 3, 4, and especially 4, 5, 6, and even 7 are all fantastic for different reasons. 4 to 7 are a monumental action franchise run, and I think the last one just crumbles under the weight of meeting those expectations. It's a really solid film. There's so much movie here. There's a really good espionage plot around government control of nukes, and there's a really tight little like room-based thriller in there, but it's just so clumsily presented. And the big reason this movie didn't work for me is just there's so much dialogue and exposition and just endless annoying jibber jabber to get to action set pieces, and the action set pieces are fantastic. And I love all the people in suits kind of talking about what we should do with this nuclear Armageddon we're facing. But the big thing for me is they will spend literally 40 minutes, it feels like, explaining stuff that then just doesn't matter or is completely disregarded. And there's so much, like, not character beats, just people being like, you gotta do this and then this and then this. Oh, that's crazy. Do I need to do this? Yes, you need to do this. Yeah, I need to do this. Yeah, I need to do this. This goes on for way too long at the runtime. I think if you actually just cut a lot of it and made it tighter, there's so much good stuff here. There's this horrifying spectacle where Tom Cruise interacts and engages with the AI that is breathtaking. The action sequences are fantastic, but it's all in service of the franchise's worst villain and an AI threat that was much more compelling in Mission Impossible 7 than it is Mission Impossible 8. So it isn't quite the most disappointing. It isn't quite in my top 3, but it is worth mentioning. Next, we have most surprising. Number 1, 28 Years Later. Cannot believe how much I loved 28 Years Later. I am a big fan of 28 Days Later, and I like 28 Weeks Later, but I was not expecting what I got from 28 Years Later, and I'm so glad for it. I know this has been divisive. I know a lot of people have been completely off-put by 28 Years Later, and it's not what they wanted. But for me, I went on the journey, and I just went, this is the type of legacy filmmaking, the type of modern day sequel we need more of. This feels like a new movie. This doesn't just feel like we're going to do the same thing 28 days later and we're going to bring back some legacy characters really awkwardly and we're just going to like rehash your childhood. This is a strange, bizarre, beautiful, breathtaking odyssey. It feels mythic. It feels like a fantasy film meets zombie movies. And some of the criticisms I've seen, there's some hold water, or I get if it didn't work for you, but some I'm just like, you know, people are like, oh, there's not enough zombies, not enough hordes, not enough this, not enough that. And it's just like, I feel like they wanted 28 weeks again. But for someone who went in with an open mind and loves Alex Garland and Danny Boyle, this was like heroin right into my veins. I absolutely love this. Next, Accountant 2. Pleasant surprise, Accountant 2. The first Accountant movie is one that is objectively kind of not a great film, but such a great dad movie. Just a great turn it on, leave your brain at the door and have a good time. But I actually think The Accountant 2 is a solid movie. If people hated it, I'd be like, that's a shame. This isn't like top 10 of the year or anything, but in terms of most surprising, I went in expecting dumb dad movie and I got something that was a little more exciting, well-constructed action, character beats I enjoyed, a character dynamic between the two brothers, Ben Affleck and John Barenthal, that I actually really enjoyed. And I think the humor and the care around the autism subplot was occasionally clunky and weird, but also at times really kind of sweet and caring. So I just liked this movie. This is not my proudest recommendation, but if you are interested in The Accountant 2 starring Ben Affleck, strong recommendation from me. If you are interested, this is a good, solid action movie, one that we don't get many of. It knows what it's doing. Next, we have Maria. The reason this is so surprising to me is I just didn't hear anything about it. It wasn't up for a bunch of Oscars last year. It came out here in Australia in January, so that's why I'm counting it. But I was pleasantly surprised how much I like Maria. It's almost in my top 10 so far. I liked Angelina Jolie's performance. I think it looked absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I thought her performance was great. I was moved consistently. And I think if you clue on to what this movie's doing and you figure out the interpretive nature of what this movie's doing, it's actually good. It's actually good. Like my mum turned to me while we were watching it and went, do you think this is what's going on? I was like, I think you're right. And I really liked it. All right. It's not perfect. And I get why people are moving past it, but I think there's a good movie here. And I think it's a shame that Angelina Jolie's performance wasn't recognized more. I think it's a shame more people didn't see this. I think if you enjoyed Jackie starring Natalie Portman and you enjoyed Spencer starring Kristen Stewart, I think this slots really nicely alongside them. And this is all the same director, and he seems to really know how to do interesting, interpretive biopics about women of history. And I think Maria fucking is awesome. I actually do quite like it. Next, in the honorable mentions for most surprising or pleasant surprise, we have Thunderbolts. Now, this is not nearly as good as I guess I'd heard it was. Not to sound really mean, I really thought, based on what I was hearing, that this was going to be the best MCU movie ever. But given my relationship with the MCU lately, it was just nice to watch a Marvel movie that was pretty solid. 7 out of 10. I thought good performances, actual movie stars, actual action on set. I will say I wasn't as gripped with the main character squad as much as I was the villain. I think the villain, it's the reason this has landed in most pleasant surprise, is I was just really interested in the villain. I loved how powerful he was. I loved his design in both iterations of him, or 3 iterations of him. I loved him in every scene he was in, and it felt like occasionally the movie was reaching for something deeper and broader. Now, the conversations around mental health ranged from really solid to kind of really cringe and surface level, and I wish we got more of Florence Pugh and Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan is a fantastic actor. I thought he should have won Best Actor for playing Trump last year, and I thought he should have been nominated for A Different Man as well. But I think he is slightly on cruise control here. If not, it's just the writing, but he's just kind of chilling out. And I think I was expecting a little more from his character. David Arbor's fine. It's a decent movie, all right? It's a decent movie. Now, let's go. Best A24 film and also Best Horror Film. This is a double winner. This is Bring Her Back from the Philippou brothers. It's fucking awesome. I keep thinking about this movie. I need to rewatch it because I actually think it might bump up my best of the year. Like it might go up in ranking. But look, Sinners and 28 Years Later are both tempting to put as best horror movie, but I think they work almost better as just movies. I think in terms of absolute, the horror recommendation of the year for straight up horror, Bring Her Back. This is sad and tragic and haunting, and it's following this mum who's cooked, all right? This adoptive mother who's cooked. And I will get into brief spoilers, I'll warn you, so you can skip to the next timestamp. But there's just so much care and beauty put into the characters here. And on top of that, a sense of location that I really appreciate. A lot of it centers around this house, and you know where everyone is in relation to each other. There's this weird fucking kid lurking around, and you're constantly kind of aware of how characters are interplaying with each other and in relation to each other. It's just really, really exciting stuff. Now, brief spoiler talk, and then we'll move on. So skip if you haven't seen this movie, because I don't think you should know more than that. But I do think it's interesting that the woman who's doing this cult thing, right, this adoptive mother who's trying to pull off this cult ritual, she kind of sucks at it. It's like when you're doing a recipe for the first time and you're winging it and you're not really, oh shit, I didn't blend that properly. Like, it's like she's fucking up the instructions. Like, she's not really good at it. You know, there's some humanity there. Like, she's doing her best because she just wants her daughter back. And I had that point out by a reviewer to me, and I just found it such an interesting little tidbit and something I didn't talk about in the original Bring Her Back review. Next, we have best sequel of the year, 28 Years Later. This thing rips, all right? We get so many legacy sequels, like these new Ghostbusters movies, these new Beetlejuice movies, these 10, 20 years later where it's not quite a remake, not quite a reboot, not quite a sequel. It's got some new characters, but they're kind of like the old characters, and then the old characters come back. This was good. This was pretty good. This was pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean amazing. I love 28 Years Later. Another one that was all right, okay? If you are interested in Jurassic World, I didn't mind Jurassic World. That's a decent sequel. But 28 Years Later is what a sequel should be. It's like a Terminator 2 to Terminator 1. It's genre shifting and expansive and like so clearly a product of effort and care, and like, we're going to do something different. We're going to explore ideas. We're going to take this franchise in a different, exciting direction. And I cannot wait for the 28 Years trilogy we're getting. Fuck yeah, bring it on. And if the ending is meant to be tongue-in-cheek and kind of tragically dark, cannot wait. Cannot wait. Next, we have Best Action Film. This one's going to Ballerina from the world of John Wick. All right, you have to deal with a 20-minute section where it's her backstory when she's like a child actress. Not very good. I'm going to fully acknowledge there's a 20-minute chunk here that just doesn't work. But the opening action scene kind of has the source from the jump. But once you get into the plot of her being a killer ballerina, you get into the plot of her going on these training missions, the action is fucking nuts. It's so good, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes all the way to the end of the movie. And it's scrappy, intense fighting. She has to use her environment. She's fighting people twice her size, so it gets catty, and it's just, and Ana de Armas is fantastic. She's so good. And I didn't even need the cameo we get, but that was awesome too. And there's just so many great characters, so many great ideas. I want minimum 3 of these movies, and I can't wait for more John Wick if we are getting it. Notable recommendation as well is the new Mission Impossible. You need to have a bunch of caveats. You need to deal with all the clunkiness, but it is kind of the action spectacle of the year once you get to those scenes. Also, Thunderbolts is not bad. That also is my best superhero film of the year, but I'm expecting that to literally be replaced in like a day or two by the new James Gunn Superman, which I am very excited for. I think will be great. So right now it's Thunderbolts, but I'm fully expecting Superman to replace it. If not, I will report back at the end of the year. Next, we have Best Romance, and this is my opportunity to talk about, I think romance is in a really weird spot at the moment. I saw The Wedding Banquet the other night, and it had so many interesting ideas and just completely fucking fell apart. On top of that, I think Materials completely fell apart. So if I had to recommend romance, I'm honestly going to have to go for Queer. A tragic, beautiful, mind-bending romance that is borderline like weird. Like, it's really fucking bizarre, and it's hard to recommend in the romance genre because of how weird it gets, but I can't stop thinking about it. And it's more a deconstruction of romance. You're not seeing a very successful relationship play out. It's more about loneliness and longing and being romantically infatuated with someone. And I think it's such an interesting, fascinating exploration of that. So not a traditional romance, but it does explore the subject of romance. I think Baby Girl is really good. Again, though, it's a more complicated, messy romance. This is dealing with infidelity and power play and kind of fucked up dynamics and also really hot, sexy dynamics. So again, not traditional romance. If we're looking for a straight up rom com, funnily enough, I think the Random Legacy sequel, I believe it's called Bridget Jones's Baby. No, sorry, it was Bridget Jones Mad About the Boy. It was Bridget Jones Mad About the Boy. That's straight up, dead ass, probably the best straight rom com we got this year. All right, next we have Best Worst Film. These are movies that you will have a good time watching because they're so bad. Like you're laughing at them, they're entertaining because of how bad they are. Now, I don't do stuff like Sharknado, stuff that's trying to be bad. I want a movie that was trying to be good, failed fundamentally, and as a result is really entertaining to watch. So we have The Amateur starring Rami Malek. Just a terrible but hilarious movie. There's a point, right? The whole movie is Rami Malek is like some computer nerd, some computer virgin, you know? They make this they're like, oh my God, you're such a nerd. And like he works for the FBI and then for some reason his wife gets killed. And then the FBI are like, yeah, we're not going to do shit about that. And then he's like, what if I do something about it? And then they're like, yeah, okay. And then they train him, right? And then he's getting trained. And the guy that's training him, Lawrence Fishburne, is like, shoot me with an actual bullet, like literally murder me. This is part of the training. And Rami Malek's like, no, I'm not going to shoot you because I want to shoot the guys that shot my wife. And he's like, you don't have what it takes. You can't kill me. Definitely can't kill those people that killed your wife. And it's like, no, he literally just wants to murder people for revenge. Why would he want to murder you? What the fuck? You know, and he's got the FBI's approval. Anyways, just hilariously bad. On top of that, next, Emilia Perez. Look, this is technically last year, but it came out here in Australia. This is hilarious. Problematic, stupid. Occasionally there'll be like a plot where you're like, oh, that's interesting. More of that, please. And it'll just be like penis to vagina. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But like just every 5 minutes, there's some insane quote, insane song, just bizarre, genuinely baffling. And this got like huge critical acclaim. Zoe Saldana won Best Supporting Actress, which like she is really good in the movie, but there was someone else I thought should have got Best Supporting Actress over her. Who was it? Anyways, regardless, strange. All right, now we are going to get into my bottom 5 films of the year. Let's go. Drum roll, please. Number 5, we have A Complete Unknown. I had people in my comments to my Better Man review being like, A Complete Unknown's actually pretty good. No, it's not. Fantastic lead performance from Timothée Chalamet. He absolutely deserves this Hollywood Walk of Fame star. I've seen people debating this. This is weird to me. He was one of the youngest Oscar nominees ever with Call Me By Your Name. He's also been Oscar nominated for A Complete Unknown. And to his credit, his like press run around this was awesome. He did 2 deep cuts at SNL and sang them really, really well. He's fantastic in Call Me By Your Name. He's fantastic in Bones and All. He was a really good Wonka in a kind of clunky but charming Wonka movie. He's just a good actor in pretty much everything he's in. He's crushing it. He's got a career already that is better than most people twice his age. So no, I do not think it's a hot take that he has his star. On top of that, Monica Barrero, I think is her name. She plays the like female country singer in this. She's awesome too. I would have gladly watched a whole movie about her. I think the problem with this movie is it doesn't make Bob Dylan a particularly compelling character in his own right. Credit to Baz Luhrmann, who made Elvis interesting and exciting. They just don't make Bob Dylan likable, but they also don't make him unlikable. Like I wasn't sitting there being like, oh, this is a challenging movie because I don't really like our main character. How interesting. They just made him boring and dull, and the movie just plods along, and it's from James Mangold, who I think does Hollywood blockbusters well. I like Logan, I like Ford vs. Ferrari, but here it's washed out. I hate the look of the film. I don't agree that the sets are that good. Just didn't really enjoy it. Next, in 4th place, we have Until Dawn. This is a video game adaptation from a director who's done Shazam, which I liked, and a bunch of other horror stuff, which I also didn't mind. This should have just been a fun teenage make-out horror movie, you know? And every like 40 minutes, there's an idea where I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's got this great idea where it's like you die and the clock resets and then, you know, you're in this haunted house and something else will try to kill you. And it's just shit. It's just shit. It's just boring and not funny and not scary and not anything. And then again, every 30 minutes, there'll be like a scene that uses great practical effects. And you're like, I would have watched a whole movie about this. Go back to this. But then a new idea will start up and it's just clunky and stupid and rubbish. Next, we have Snow White. This continues the trend of Disney remakes being really bad. Now, I will say the reason this isn't in last place is because Rachel Zegler is really good. Gal Gadot is almost so bad, it's funny. Like, just horrible miscast. Can't sing really well. I don't know what she's going for here. The CGI is awful. And I was actually kind of with the movie for the first 20 minutes. For the first 20 minutes, I was like, look, I don't like these live action remakes, but as far as this goes, this is actually doing an all right job. Rachel Zegler is great and she sings really well. There were some new songs I appreciated. And then you get to the 12 Dwarves and they are disgusting to look at and not intentionally disgusting to look at. These are not like, it's not like Yorgos Lanthimos where it's trying to find the beauty in the surreal and absurd and off-putting character designs. It's just fucking gross. And they're meant to be cute and they look like nightmare fuel. And at that point, the movie also just looked worse. And it was enough to kill the movie for me. So I would have given it maybe a 2.5 out of 5. But at this point, it's like a 1, maybe a 1.5, just because Rachel Zegler is that good. Next, we have the Smurfs movie. I saw this yesterday. This was terrible. This was fucking an abomination to children's filmmaking. Just everything you can imagine being bad about one of those movies where the CGI characters go off into the real world. Not funny, offensively bad. Kids deserve better. Do not see it. Do not take your kids to it. There are better kids movies. You know what? Fine. Go see the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. At least that's good. At least they care. You know, yes, it's a live action remake, but at least your kids will enjoy it. Kids in the theater for How to Train Your Dragon remake were laughing and enjoying. They weren't laughing for Lilo and Stitch. No one enjoyed Snow White. And in the theater for the Smurfs, not one kid laughed, not one kid did anything. In fact, they all started going down the slide because they were that bored. So no, do not see Smurfs. Do not take your kids to see Smurfs. Don't do it. They deserve better. Next, we have F1. Probably my hottest take. Look, I know a lot of people would have been fine with me saying I didn't enjoy it. I have not seen a movie that I've been this annoyed at. I didn't find it funny. I didn't find it cool. I thought Brad Pitt is a great actor. He's been fantastic in Burn After Reading, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Assassination of Jesse James. He is a genuinely fantastic actor. 12 Monkeys, Fight Club. Like, he is versatile, more versatile than people give him credit for. But he is shockingly bad in this. Kerry Condon is completely wasted. It's just a bad movie. It's not exciting. The action scenes, the race scenes, which I was expecting a bad dad movie, by the way. I was expecting something where the action set pieces were fantastic and in between, you know, you kind of waiting to get back to the action scenes. It's just generic shit. But at least in Ford vs. Ferrari, like, I'm connecting with the kid at home watching his dad race. You know, in this, I wasn't rooting for anyone. I found everyone unlikable and unintentionally unlikable. We were meant to like them, I'm sure. Cringe, the scene where they go, C for combat, combat, combat. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. And the big thing here is when we get to the action set pieces, they are edited to shit. It barely stays in one place. It's constantly cutting around. And I know someone's going to be in my comments being like, actually, the last race scene was all one take. Yeah, on his face. He just looks bored driving the whole time, so I'm bored as a result. Most of the movie is him fucking about and crashing, so you never get in the momentum of a race. I was never excited. I was never gripped. And yeah, you know what? It's lower down because it had so much potential and so much budget and could have been great. You know, so it bugs me a little more than the Smurfs. But truthfully, the Smurfs had a song section I liked, and Snow White had a few song sections I liked. F1, maybe the first 3 minutes, I didn't mind. But very quickly, I was like, this is bad, and it never really pricked my ears up again. Literally the first 3 minutes I thought were okay. The end. Now, next, we have the overall recommendations. These are my personal favorites, but these are the recommendations I am going to give to everyone. These are like kind of the must-sees of the year. So obviously, it's Sinners. Sinners is the must-see movie of the year. This feels like an Oppenheimer. This feels like a Nolan or a Tarantino movie. This is like big budget filmmaking, you know, at its peak, but also like with artful intentions in mind. You know, this is a movie where I think about the characters, I think about the villains and what their motivations were. I think about what everything meant, and I love the idea that it all took place in one night. And I think if you don't know anything about the movie, just go watch it blind. We are now going to get into light spoilers, so skip to the next movie. Let's go. So, like, I can't stop thinking about the fact that they made Remick Irish and they lean into his plight and the fact that he's lost his people. So, on one end, you kind of empathize with his wanting to connect with this musician that can, like, cross barriers between time and space and have him speak to his ancestors. There's some sadness there in the character of Remick. And simultaneously, the movie does just frame him as a scary vampire. The movie works as a scary vampire, but at the end of the movie, when two of the characters are left that are still vampires and they've been thriving, it puts the whole movie into question. Like, was there an actual blessing here, or was this always inherently fucked up? Does this just represent the white man trying to appropriate their culture and they can't do it themselves? But I think you're also meant to feel bad for Remick not being able to emulate that culture. You are meant to feel bad for him trying to reach his ancestors in that Merry Town to London or whatever song it is, and not being able to quite do it. I think it's really interesting. I also think the relationship between Smoke and Stack gets better each time I rewatch this movie. It's a really solid movie. Now, I don't think it holds together as much as I'd like it to be in my number one spot. That's really the only reason, but this is a great, great movie, and it's the must-see movie of the year. On top of that, a recommendation I just feel really confident in. I think most people will like it. Not perfect, but Bob Trevino likes it. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. This is a great fucking movie. I feel like it was made on a budget of like $40,000. It was pretty much impossible to find anywhere. It was only at one screening in Australia, and we were the only people in it, but it was a great movie. It was a great, great movie, and I loved it. Go see it. It's on Prime if you're in Australia at the moment, so I'm sure it's on streaming in America, but a beautiful, beautiful movie about found family and a girl who needs a father figure and a guy that's willing to give that. It's just, sometimes you need a movie that's just gorgeous and sweet to wash down all the fucked up zombie, vampire, and weird sex movies that I recommend, So check out Bob Trevino Likes It. All right, next, my top 5. We are going to go 5 down to 1. At number 5, we have Bob Trevino Likes It. At number 4, we have Queer. Talked about before, but hauntingly beautiful romance. I absolutely love this film. It's weird and fucked up, and it will not work for anyone. I get why people don't like it, but for me, if you're willing to go with something that's a little slow, weird, out there, and kind of uncomfortable and off-putting, but also deeply romantic in the most tragic of ways, Queer is that. Next, number 3, and this could move up to number 2, maybe even number 1, but I do need to rewatch it. So tentatively, number 3, we have Bring Her Back. Talked about this before. Just think it's perfectly executed A24 horror. Number 2, we have Warfare. Haven't talked about this yet. This should have been an action movie recommendation, but the reason I didn't do that is because it's more so a horrific fly on the wall portrayal of what war is like. This isn't meant to be fun. This isn't meant to be exciting. This isn't meant to be oorah. This is meant to be sad. You're meant to feel like these characters, just realizing the senseless nature of this war and how horrific it was. It's essentially from the moment day comes up, there's this opening section set at night, but the moment the title drops, it's essentially real time 90 minutes of this war thing, this war operation going wrong. And it's just so, so well done. I absolutely love it. Amazing performances all around. And that opening scene with that song, come on, man. Come on. Chef's kiss. And finally, number 1, 28 years later. Now, this is a movie I've seen 3 times. It gets better every single time. I adore it. I was lucky enough to be invited to an early screen as well, but I swear this is not biased, right? I've seen a bunch of early screenings, but this one I adored. I absolutely adored. I just think it's everything a sequel should be. It's exciting. I'm so glad the world has been reopened up. It's kind of hyper-fixated my brain on the 28 Days Later franchise. I want to rewatch 28 Days Later. Love this movie. So glad I got to witness it in theaters as many times as I did. And it's my favorite movie of the year, even if it's something I can't confidently recommend given how polarizing it's been. Next, just quickly, I'll cover best shows of the year. So in terms of miniseries you need to watch, they're both Netflix, all right? I know people give Netflix a lot of shit. Adolescence, everyone's talked about to death. I did a full fucking hour and a half video on it or whatever. I think an hour actually, but Adolescence is as good as it gets. It's basically a 4-hour movie about a kid that's been accused of killing a classmate, a young boy, and it delves into what makes someone like that tick, what causes this to happen. It's not a whodunit, it's a why-done-it. It's an incredible character study of not only the boy, but a family. It's fucking excellent. It is excellent, all right? Next, very neck and neck and sometimes on some days, if you catch me in the right mood, might be the stronger recommendation, Apple Cider Vinegar. This is an Australian show. I'm not biased towards Australian shows, I promise, because a lot of the stuff we produce is shit. But Apple Cider Vinegar is fantastic. Character study of this girl that essentially was lying about how she cured her own cancer and selling people false hope, and it is just fantastic. A show that actually makes unlikable characters really unlikable. It really stretches your ability to watch. It's a big cringe watch. It's a tough watch, but it is genuinely fantastic. And Netflix should be really proud of these two miniseries. On top of that, if we're talking about general shows that aren't just limited miniseries, The Bear is still fantastic. Yes, dipped in quality slightly in season 3, and it's definitely feeling different now in season 4. But I think season 4 aced this slow character portrait pace, and I really liked season 4 of The Bear. Squid Game season 3 was a solid conclusion. Did we need 3 seasons of Squid Game? Probably not, but I do like how it wrapped up overall. There are some things I could say. There are some problems here and there, but overall, a solid ending, 8 out of 10 for Squid Game. Next, I think Severance is gonna be the must-watch show of the year. Severance is absolutely fantastic. Both seasons are now finished, and they are fantastic. And I genuinely think the show could end there. I know they're going to do more, but fuck me, what a fantastic season 2 finale. This show knows how to do finales like no other. This show is fantastic. I do think season 2, as I've looked back on it, does have some things here and there that I don't love and is clunky in places, but when this show is hitting in season 2, it is the best stuff of the show, all right? There are about 4 out of 10 episodes, maybe even 5 out of 10 episodes. It is as good as it gets in terms of TV. Next, we have White Lotus. White Lotus had maybe my favorite season so far. I think season 3 was dark and broody and challenging. Now, you don't need to watch the other 2 seasons, but definitely helps because there are some characters returning in minor roles. But season 3 of The White Lotus is genuinely dark, confronting, mean-spirited, and horrific. It's usually a show that's just a satire on eat the rich on holidays, but no, this was a dark, gritty, brutal season, really fucked up, and I really liked it. Next, surprising recommendation, I really like Ginny and Georgia. Really like Ginny and Georgia season 3. This is a show that started off a bit clunky and cringe and weird, but I think by the end of season 1, I was definitely with it. You know, season 2 was fantastic, and season 3, in my opinion, is even better. These are problematic characters that make strange choices, but it's kind of fascinating. This is a show that I think has the female audience in mind. It's a show that I think works probably really well with daughters and mums. I feel like the high school stuff is meant to feel like a high school show. I think the adult stuff is meant to feel like an adult show. So I think mums and daughters watch it together would probably get a lot out of it, but I think it's a great show, and if you're looking for a recommendation like that, check it out. Next, we have The Pit. The Pit is fantastic, great medical drama. There are a few things I have here or there, like some of the social messaging, I guess, in it is really clunky. You know, it's a very grounded, realistic medical drama. Every episode is an hour of a shift. The full season is one full shift. It's insane. There are 2 things I have. One, again, the social messaging. It will just be like characters that are really blunt and curt will suddenly be like, you know, the issue with toxic masculinity today is the fact that these kids engage in podcasts and you can't really control the podcast. So really it comes down to the parents, but also about media control. Like it's not that I disagree with the messaging. It's just the way they kind of speak about it feels really scripted when the rest of the show feels so loose and realistic. And on top of that, the amount of shit you're meant to believe happens in a day of a shift is absurd. Now, not saying the amount of emergencies that come through the emergency department, but the amount of personal drama. All right, I'm going to make them up so I don't spoil it, but it'll literally be like, oh my God, I'm a nurse and my mum just murdered my dad at home. And oh my God, I'm a doctor, but now my dog has just been hit by a car. Oh my God, the hospital roof is on fire. Oh my God, this guy's smoking cocaine. We need to fire him. Like literally so much personal drama happens, not just emergency department stuff. So much personal drama happens that it just feels a bit unrealistic that it would all happen in a day. But the issue is because the show still needs to be a season that keeps people interested, they need to jam pack it full of drama. So you need to turn your brain off stuff for that. But outside of that, just a fantastic medical drama, and I cannot wait for season 2. It's a very addictive, compelling show. Very, very good. Finally, Adults, just like a really good comedy show in my opinion. And look, I watched Overcompensating. Hot take, I liked Adults a lot better. I think Adults feels almost like the next In-Betweeners. I was laughing so much, and I want more, and I want more now, and I want like 30 episodes of it. Adults is weirdly fantastic. It came out of nowhere. I find it really funny. Some people don't. I'm surprised. People say it's cringe. Yeah, they're meant to be cringe. They're meant to be really cringy. And I felt like I was watching people that reminded me of people I know. It was really good. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this, please consider getting a membership to Patreon or YouTube members. They're both the same. Links in description below. The reason I say that is I do a podcast every 2 weeks where I talk about everything I've watched in a given fortnight, both shows and movies. So it's essentially like this, but a little less structured, a bit more personal. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please consider getting a membership to this channel. I do work very hard on these videos. Have a lovely day.